Aquarius workshop, self-responsibility. I start with a quote from Pathwork Lecture 94 with the title, The True Self versus Superficial Personality Levels. And the quote is as follows. Self-forgiveness and fully facing one's sin both derive from courage, humility, and a will to take on self-responsibility, while self-indulgence and self-hate both derive from cowardice, pride, the will not to change, but to make the world change, and lack of self-responsibility. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 94. Primitive humans were much more dependent and helpless than we are today. They were torn between wanting to rule the weak and being ruled by the strong. At the current stage of human evolution, humanity has left kindergarten, but is still far from reaching adulthood. Humanity has developed sides, groups of people who are responsible, involved, constructive, free, and independent. And there are groups of people who are ruled by their inner, egoistic, demanding, and destructive child. As humanity matures, there will be less confusion about what is constructive and what is destructive, and what is truth and untruth. Humanity is currently in crisis because the causes of political, economic, and religious problems are being sought in others, not yet in the inner world. But when humanity reaches the threshold of maturity, it will learn to take responsibility for itself and no longer place blame on others. It will face the truth within itself and learn to develop its inner will, conscious, and thought processes so that all existing problems can be solved. Only then can lasting peace emerge on earth. Besides the adult part that takes responsibility for itself, there is a childlike part that is rebellious, refuses to take responsibility, and refuses to mature emotionally. We all have the power to change ourselves, but the inner child wants this work done for us and someone else to take care for us. We can resolve this conflict by examining how we have restricted our freedom by not taking responsibility. The more we avoid self-responsibility, the more trapped we feel. We lash out at the world, convinced we are being wronged. But the key to this self-created prison lies within. In this workshop you will explore with a loving curiosity 3 themes of the Pathwork Lectures regarding self-responsibility. The first theme, self-responsibility activates the life force. When hidden motives exist in the unconscious, it is a sign of immaturity and the refusal to take responsibility for ourselves. There are quite a few misconceptions about what taking responsibility actually means. With this incorrect understanding, we tend to nurture feelings of guilt and inferiority and suffer from false shame, which is extremely destructive. However, taking responsibility for this life by engaging in honest self-examination daily, so that we can attune ourselves to the life force, is constructive. The next quote stems from Pathwork Lecture 56. Declaring yourself responsible for your life and seeking the remedy for past erroneous attitudes and concepts is an utterly constructive and strengthening activity. But feeling that because you are responsible for your life, you are all the more guilty and inferior, and therefore more hopeless than ever, is destructive and weakening. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 56. The second theme, saying no to life. Life is love, and an unhealthy no current against love is a no to life. We rebel against life out of fear of pain and unhappiness, but to the same extent that we run away from pain, we run away from pleasure and happiness. We are angry about the obligations and responsibilities that come with life here on earth due to pride and self-will. To survive, we must be alert, make decisions, dare to make mistakes, and learn from them, take risks, expose ourselves, and so on. Resistance to these responsibilities causes us, unconsciously or consciously, to rebel and say no to life. The next quote stands for Pathwork Lecture 108. In mature responsibility, it is also love and unselfishness. Find when, why, where, how, and in what respect these are lacking in your lazy resistance against the assuming of responsibility in your life, or only doing so because you have to. And then you will eventually change your inner attitude and thus be with life rather than against it. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 108. The third and last theme, surrender to the will of God. Aquarian persons are in harmony with reality because they realize their true identity, have a healthy sense of self-worth, and know they have taken on an important task for evolution. This task involves the purification and transformation of negative aspects and the placing of talents, qualities, powers, and abilities at the service of the plan of salvation according to God's will. Enjoying an ever-expanding consciousness based on love, truth, and unity, Aquarian persons live in reality. Just as a child abandons toys it has outgrown, so they have left behind fear, pride, and self-will, unhealthy egotism, greed, and defenses against illusions and misconceptions. In all humanity, they gently and peacefully face their neuroses, which are loveless, untrue, and separate, and joyfully mature these imperfect aspects into adulthood. With this constructive attitude, feeling loved, welcome, and valued, they are able to perceive the reality of a loving and caring universe and feel safely carried by the universe. The last quote stands for Pathwork Lecture 256. Ask yourself some deeply probing questions. Are you really willing to assume full self-responsibility with all that this implies? Are you fully reconciled to the fact that you are still imperfect, are unable to avoid making mistakes? Are you truly willing to pay the price for them? The more willing you are to do so, the less expensive this price will be. The price will turn out to be a stepping stone, a threshold, a necessary lesson. Only by surrender to the will of God can the strength to do this come. Can you truly stand in the middle of life as it unfolds around you, never fleeing it, never denying it, never using spirituality as a means to escape from it. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 256. I wish you peace and all the best. Thank you.